Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third edition of Borderless. I am Nisreen Ben Sliman, a team member of Diaspora in Action, and I am very happy to moderate this webinar on art, or when art meets migration. In this webinar, we will be discussing themes related to art and its connection to migration, diversity, themes and topics such as inclusion, belonging, and how the art can contribute to shift narratives around migration. Borderless is an initiative by Diaspora in Action, Tunisia Tomorrow, and Aliens. It is funded by the French-German Citizen Fund. For this edition, I am very happy to have to count among our guest speakers El Mahdi Largo, an artist from Moroccan origins based in France, and Kia Masoudi, an artist also musician based in Berlin from Iranian origins. I will give now the floor for our participants to introduce themselves, and I thank you all for tuning in. We will later on, like usual, open the floor for the Q&A after we are done with this first part of the webinar. So feel free to think about some questions and to ask them to our guests. I will start with you, El Mahdi, if you can briefly introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, my name is Mehdi. I'm an artist in Paris, and I grew up. I first born in Morocco. Then I grew up in Italy spent 10 years over there, and then it's been like 12 years now that I'm in France. So all that just constructed so much of myself. So that's why I'm invited today, I think. Because my art is all around immigration and how I became the man I am today. I think for now it's all I can say.
Thank you, El Mahdi. I think we will know more about your story and your work and how it shaped the artist who you are today later on. Kia, if you can briefly introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes, I'm Kia, an Iranian-born person, and I grew up in Iran. And yeah, like 8-9 years ago, I migrated to Germany. I'm now based in Berlin and also pursuing my art and other works. Yeah, I don't consider myself like a full-time artist, but yeah, I do art as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. We will now listen to an extract from your music, Kia, and then we can take the conversation from there. Thank you. It's very nice, and you know, it's like dreamy. We can go to different worlds with it. And also Layla has a very strong connotation and meaning. I think it's the same for you, Kia, in our culture. So many poets wrote poems about Layla. So I wanted to ask you, Kia, if you can tell us more about how your interest in music started, like the story, how it started, that you are interested in music and you wanted to follow this path, even if it's not still at a full-time basis.
Yeah. So first of all, before I get into your question, I have to give the credits also because we are a band, like Cyclic Psych is a band, I'm part of this band, and I have to give the credit also to the other guys who did on this. And back to your question, yeah, I mean, like I was always interested in music. And I remember I was 15 or 16 years old, and my father bought himself a sitar, like this traditional instrument, Iranian instrument. And I just was playing with it, you know, like playing with it. And I wasn't actually playing like traditional songs, but like Metallica, you know, like Metallica on sitar. And then for my 18th birthday, I got the guitar, like a present. And then I started to buy myself more stuff and learn more stuff, you know, by myself. And yeah, it just started that way, and we continued, and yeah, now I'm here.
Okay, now you are here.
Yes.
Mehdi, so my question to you it's more about the visa and the visa limitations. So when I was checking your portfolio, I noticed that your like residence permit, it's like valid only until August 29. I mean, this August. So this triggered me to ask this question about the visa limitations. So I would assume you have a new visa permit, but still, my question is, art in general, you know, it knows no borders. This is how we would like to define it, how we'd like to think about it. But do you think this is really valid and true in general with such context of my artists from a migrant background? How is the situation from this perspective of the visa limitations?
I think that right now, if you're talking about like directly about if it's directly connected to the visa, I think that yeah, actually, I think it's a stop to a lot of people in the like for art, and especially I think that as an artist you need to be able just to move whatever it is it for, but just to absorb everything. You can have it all around the world, and it's like especially when you see the mythology of so many artists, like all this mythology of the artist. It's like a human being going everywhere and just getting all this information and then going and just giving them to the world. Well, today maybe the globalization just lets you see everything, all the world on your telephone, who's actually create even more frustration and actually blocks a lot the creativity. But then I don't know. I think it's a big issue. It's a big problem. Like not just for artists, just in general. Like just this frustration that can create to people. Then yeah, for me, well, I'm lucky because you know I'm here with my family. So in the beginning, I have my permit, and I'm working today, so it's kind of okay. But yeah, I think it's a stop. It's a real yeah, it's a real it blocks a lot the creativity of people, I think, and even. I don't know. I think that there's some people that they probably have so much to give to the world, and finally they blocked in some place where they can't, and they don't have any possibility then to just maybe study even more or whatever. I consider myself very lucky to be here, and like in the idea that I had the possibility to study and whatever in art. It's like more has more value. So even if I as an immigrant, actually, it's very hard to just get your parents and tell them, hey, I want to be an artist. Like you're here for work, to work. You're here to get the real money. So, well.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's also another level, you know, how to explain that you can live with your art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially in certain from certain cultures or also certain backgrounds. So it's not always an easy thing.
No.
Also speaking about the same theme of migration, Kia, according to you, from your own perspective, if we say the word migration, what is its connotation for you? I mean, either at a personal level or at the level of your work or your music in general.
But I think, as Mehdi said, like it shouldn't be that hard, you know. Like it shouldn't, like the borders shouldn't be that strict, you know. Like you have to be able to travel, you know. Because, for example, like if you're a French-born citizen, or a French-born person, and if you travel to or just move to, I don't know, let's say Germany or UK, then it's not like migration, you know. Like migration has this hidden meaning of like this negative meaning of like leaving everything behind, like, you know, like you leave everything behind and you just go to another country, and it shouldn't be that hard, you know. Like yeah, it's always hard for most of the people who do this like go through the process of this migration, and yeah, I think it shouldn't be that hard. And the other thing is like for the artists, for example, like if you like it doesn't happen always, you know, but sometimes you lose your audience in your own country because you don't belong there, and you don't have any audience here also, like in the country that you migrated to, because I don't know, like because you don't know the things and you're not accepted there. So it shouldn't be also in that kind of way, you know. Like it's a hard process of choosing your audience first, like to which audience are you going to produce your art or make your art, or is it going to be, you know, like regional at all, or like international art. But in general, for me, it's like the migration, yeah, it shouldn't be that hard. It should be like easier for everybody, like what happens now exactly like in Europe. People can just travel, work, easy. And for many people, it's this possibility doesn't exist. You know, like you don't have this possibility to just go somewhere, just to, you know, like practice new things. So yeah, that's my notation of it.
Yeah, indeed. And it's also like a paradox, because we always think that we say that art and ideas, they know no borders and they travel everywhere, but actually there are the borders, the passport controls, the visa, the privileges for some and non-privileges for others. So it's very complex. So Mahdi, if I ask you this question, does it happen to you to sometimes, or do you ever ask yourself if you should have stayed in Morocco instead of joining your father in Europe? Yes or not?
Well, I asked myself. Well, I asked myself actually a lot when I was a child. But then I was in Italy. I wasn't so accepted. So of course I was asking myself, what am I doing here? I would love to be over there. Even if over there they weren't like accepting me so much. So I wasn't really, but at least I was like feeling a little bit more at ease in Morocco. But then now, like actually 3 years ago, I accepted all what I am, and like accepting really like the fact just to be an immigrant. And then I was like looking at myself, like maybe trying to figure out if I was in Morocco, more than telling to myself I should have been over there, more like what if? And what if is like not so interesting, I think, because actually the fact of living in 3 different countries and traveling and being so not at my place, being such a member of a minority, being even living the racism and everything, make me grew up a lot and made me actually be the artist that I am. Like I wouldn't be who I am without what I had with these different countries. I don't know. Yeah. So I think yeah. I asked myself, but I don't really see what I would be doing today if I was in Morocco. I don't know. Do you see what I?
Yeah, I get it. But you still have ties there. Do you get to exhibit, for example, your work there in Morocco, or?
No. I'm not saying that I wouldn't see like right now myself in Morocco. I say like more if I grew up over there, what I would be. I don't.
Okay.
I can't really imagine that. But of course, today actually with all the things that I learned and this learned at the same time. I think that that would be amazing to get back and to restart another way of living over there. Maybe I already made some exhibitions in Morocco, but then I would love to work more over there. Like sometimes just to show to people that it's not so interesting over here.
As a matter of change, or going back to the roots, home.
Going back to the roots in a way. Yeah. Well, I go back to the roots every year, but then it's another way. That would be another way.
Yeah, I relate to what you both say about when we are there, maybe it's not always completely accepted, because especially for maybe people who migrated like when they were young, so maybe the ties with the home countries, are less and less, and things kept on developing and changing back there, and they still have some of their roots there, but they are still not completely grasping or integrating in the host countries. So yeah, it's a dilemma sometimes. Maybe also artists can talk or express it through different mediums also.
Yeah.
Thank you, Al-Mahdi. Kia, I wanted to ask you, what inspires your art? Are there like some influences, either old that you used to have and change now, or maybe new influences, like the background? What influences are shaping your artistic work? And are they in relation also with your origins, or or maybe not necessarily?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, when you start doing art, in general, you always have your idols or the people you follow, or the arts that you like, and I think in first step is always to imitate, and then try to go like in the same style, and that's what I did also too. And yes, I had also like both. Like I had like the influences from my own country, like from Iran, like many good musicians, and like also traditional ones, and also like very like the Western, because I grew up also like kind of with this Western kind of music, but I also really enjoyed the traditional Iranian music. And the thing is, like as I said, like you start to do it with copying, and then you get always better, and then at some point you say, okay, I just want to create my own thing. Like it shouldn't be like Western or Eastern or like from any region maybe, and you just produce what you think it's good, like maybe it's just a combination of all of these influences, or maybe it's just I don't know, like it's something, but the ideas, the influences, like come from everyday life, like whatever you experience every day, at work or in the street, when you're talking with people, you always get ideas, or you get influenced by the people. So yeah, it's from everywhere, and it's from, I think the best way of putting it is like, you get always inspired by everything, by every little thing, and it doesn't matter like where it's coming from. It just, the important thing is where you just put it into, like how you just translate it into your work. So yeah, so for me it's also the same.
When I was listening earlier to Layla, I felt there is like this bit of nostalgia, and I wanted to ask you about it. When you are producing and giving birth to your babies, to the music, to the pieces, are there some pieces that are closer to your heart, that comes from these memories of your childhood in Iran, that you feel are closer to you, or not necessarily?
that's for sure. But I mean, like for Layla in particular, like because it's a cover song, you know, like it's the original song is maybe from like maybe 30 years old. And there was a time like we were covering another, because we were doing this collaboration with a girl from Indonesia, and she was, you know, like covering her own song, like one song that she had in mind. She said, I wanted to cover this song like differently, like in different genre. And we said also, let's try this also, like Iranian one. And this one was exactly like it was coming from our heart. Like the minute that we said, okay, which Iranian song, this song came into our mind, and we said, okay, let's just try it. And we did a new version, like a more, you know, like a more modern way of Layla. So yeah, it came actually from my, like, I really like the original song, maybe even more than this version of ourselves. But yeah, it's always really hard to cover, or like, you know, like when you're covering a song, it's really hard to keep this nostalgia that you have, or keep this beauty of it, and you're not ruining it by making many new things, and also just doing something new, you know, like to have the balance in between.
Yeah.
So we tried it also, like it's not that difficult, different from the original version, like the melodies are the same, but the instruments or the production is like a bit different. So yeah, I really like it also.
I really think you did a great work, because we get the feeling with the innovation. So I think the equation is really good. So yeah, well done. Mahdi, my next question, it's also a bit personal. So I know that you have special relationship with your father, and I know that this story of this relationship shaped the artist who you are today. So would you like to share with us the story with the audience?
So you can, yeah, it makes everything more understandable, actually. Yeah, it's well, my father, I would say that everything starts actually on a mobilette. You know what's a mobilette? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like this small motorcycle.
Yeah, it's like a small motorcycle, small scooter that he sold, and then he paid someone to cross the water, to cross the Mediterranean, and to go to Malta, where he spent 1 month, and then he went to Turin. There he used to sell cigarettes, and then he, for 3 years, he'd been selling cigarettes, and then he came back to me with and my mother joined him, and that was like in the 90s. Like he left in 96. So then he came back to bring me in, to Italy. So there we spent like 10 years, as I said just before, but like 7 years ago, I remembered, like I was like working on this project about factory, like the work in factory, and how actually, because I always worked in factory in the summer with him, so I can just make some money for to help and stuff, and I don't know, I was like, wow, that's crazy, like how people can do that, like just how can you work every day like doing the same stuff, like all the time, like just, it's alienating, it makes people crazy. I don't know, how can you spend like 40 years in the same place doing the same thing? And then I wanted to film the factory, and they didn't let me film the factory. So my father, he filmed himself, even if he was like able to just lose his job, the same job that the same horrible job that he was doing just for me, he was like ready to lose it. So then I understood that actually maybe the thing was more about my father and or my mother, actually, like just the fact that whatever they have to do to make me survive, to make me live. And then I remembered like all the story that he used to tell me about Turin, because he was, as I told you, selling cigarettes in Turin. And like here in Barbès, actually, I just live just in front of the guys who does the same thing here, so I can it always reminds me the story. And yeah, so I've been to Turin and I took many pictures. Like I spent like three days over there, and I was like taking pictures of places that he used to talk me about, or like places that I just felt like taking picture of them. I asked to some people all around the Porta Palazzo, like this huge market in the street in Turin. And then I came back and I gave him the pictures. Like 12 years after, he discovers he sees again like this all these places, but he had like 12 pictures and it's all. And I found the place where he used to hide his cigarettes. And could you imagine? Like I was filming that like he was seeing that for the first time, and we were like just having this moment, and he was like, "Oh, esa." Easy. And I just get crazy in my mind, like, wow, I just really found the place. And I found the place like where he had this friend of him, like he used to make sandwiches for him and stuff. And it was just a very nice moment. And well, I'll send you later
But well, like, was it like a pure coincidence? Like,
pure coincidence.
You knew about it. Coincidence?
Yeah, pure coincidence.
Wow.
It was, as I told you, just I was just walking, taking some pictures. Sometimes hey, where do you think that the guys who sell cigarettes they used to be normally and stuff? And then we're taking pictures. And then I really found this the perfect place, like his spot, his own spot. So it was a very, very, very cool. And then it started with that. Like I just by realizing that, I just started like finally just digging in my interior and digging on myself. And I think that episode helped me a lot actually to just also understand myself. I understand a lot of stuff around me. That started with that. All this 7 or 8 years that I've been working on immigration and stereotypes and working on my mental health. Because I think it's a work on mental illness too.
Yeah, I think it's like a healing process also. It's a process of learning, of unlearning, of discovering, of going back to the path of our parents and see how it all started. Thank you for sharing this story with us, Al-Mahdi. Kia, my next question is for you and is about the context here in Germany. So do you feel as someone who loves music, who is an artist living here in Germany, do you feel that the culture here in Germany is like enabling artists from a migrant background to thrive and be themselves and produce their music, or are there some limitations in the background?
I think yes and no. So like in my case, for example, like music in Iran, like it's it's like an Islamic country, and there are many taboos, many limitations, or many lines that you cannot actually pass, or your music is dead, or you cannot just play. So for me, like being in here and being able to play is good, like that's enough for me. But like in general, like organizations or like the people who, for example, like the funds, like there are some funds that you can apply for, and I think for music there are not so many. For fine arts there are more, still not so many. In Germany, I think in other countries like in Netherlands, for example, is more of them, which help artists, like to just go through their journeys. But in general, like it's, the thing is like for the art, there are some, you know, like there are some small NGOs that help people, like help also with the like a migration background. Like there are some NGOs that help also. Like I used to also collaborate with one of them for the Asian, like the people with the Asian background, but it's not so organized, you know, like in Germany at least, like it's not so organized. And the fact, for example, that you have to apply for visa, like for me, like in my case, it's different because I'm working here and like I don't rely on my art for living, you know, like as an income, like a source of income. But for those who do, like they get a visa, for example, their art, and they have like, I don't know, like 6-month visa or 1-year visa. And this puts like a lot of pressure on the artist, because art is not like, you don't have, it's not like engineering, it's not like doctor, or like not an office job. You just have to concentrate more, or have the freedom to feel or think about the ideas. And when you have so much pressure on yourself, like visa, for example, then you cannot produce. Like this, I think, is like a way to, this makes the artist to produce garbage, you know, like, because you have to do something like in that time. Otherwise you cannot get your visa extended. And I think if you rely on your art only, it's harder. But like in general, like, yeah, the situation for art scene is way better than in our country, for example, or in the region. But I think there could be more done, you know, like there could be more help from the government, from the NGOs, from the organizations for the artists, and not expecting so much then from them, you know, because art is not like, you know, as I said, like it's not like a project that you have to start from the beginning to the end. It's like a journey. It's, you just have to feel it, you know, like sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't come. And yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, totally. It's not easy because the artist, like, he needs or she needs the space and time to think and to give labor to the product, to the work. And with such pressures, you will not be able to do so. Especially that already there was the problems, the tough times with the corona that also added extra layers of difficulties. So yeah, I think many artists relate to that, and unfortunately, they cannot only rely on art to as a means of living. Yeah, so my next question is for you, El Mahdi, and you know, there is this tendency, or some artists from African origins, and also they also share their stories and about how the global north, generally speaking, it's not always the case, of course, but there is this tendency to devaluate the African art or culture. Do you, as an artist from African origins, did you experience such discrimination or such feeling of devaluation of your own cultural heritage or background as someone who comes from African origins?
As an artist?
Yeah.
For now, no. I'm sure that I'm gonna have it. That's for sure. But yeah, for now, I'm luckily I didn't have this kind of issues. It's more like, I would say that it's more like about myself. Sometimes asking myself if I'm gonna end by putting myself too much in this situation. Actually, like more about am I gonna, like am I gonna be if I'm gonna be defined as just as a African or Arabic culture, Arabic guy making art, or the African guy making art, especially like in such a small scene like Paris, for example, where you know, there's like, whenever you have a group of persons or where everyone know each other, like, so they're gonna start making targets. So yeah, that's for sure. It's like more an idea that I have, like something that I think about, but for now, luckily, no one made me think, made me feel like that. I had some. Sometimes I felt like maybe when I was in fine art school, maybe people some professors didn't really understood what I was making, but more because I was the only Arabic guy in the only Moroccan, or at least like not French person in the whole school. And it starts like coming. I can see that there's more for, if we can say, immigrant scene existing. Then I think it's more open. But yeah, I think for now I didn't. Luckily, I didn't had the chance to be. No, just I didn't had the. Yeah, I'm lucky. Let's say that I'm lucky for now. Let's see later maybe.
I hope you always stay lucky. But this thing that you mentioned about the categorization or putting in boxes, did you live it or you felt you were not put under any category? So you are who you are. You feel that you are yourself, and you did not experience such a thing, or did you?
No, I tell you, I'm trying to be careful about it. More like so, I would like to. I would like that my art would talk to anyone and not just to a category of persons. So I'm more, even for myself, like I'm trying to understand like where are the lines to be in between, always in between. But then I didn't suffer of that for now.
Good. The next question will be for both of you, so you can choose who to answer first, but it's about colonization. So colonization, like it defined and it still defines like the power structures, and sometimes in very harmful and unjust, not fair ways. And to overcome this, do you think that we should, artists, and you, for example, as artists, should you return to the roots, like reviewing history, or as a main focus, or on the opposite, like think or choose to opt for futuristic concepts, maybe? So, what do you think?
I start?
You can go first.
I go first. Okay. Yeah, for me, it's very, very important to go to the roots. Like it's very, like without like pointing anyone. It's not about that, but more like to let people understand what happened, so they can actually be more aware. Because whenever I talk about colonization, like for example the social or economical issues that Africa can have, or even Maghreb can have, and with some French people, or they would always like more putting the fault on the countries than being aware of what, for example, the colonization can have, or the post-colonization, and then the colonialism, and then the capitalism had produced as mental psychological issues on people, and how today we have a real problem too with the how do you say there's a real projection on Europe, on Occidental culture, that brings people to always be how do you say that, have a bad image of themselves, and having always like a good image of Europe or Occident. Like sometimes I feel I just see people here, like other Arabic people, and telling me, oh. I don't know how to explain that, but like they would be. Sometimes I had Arabic people telling me I don't like Arabic, for example, or like I don't like how. Like considering that we're not enough compared to this countries, like to the. And I think it means just that the colonization made such a good job, and they did such a good job to put people to think that to make them Sorry, I have some problems of vocabulary in French, so in English. So
no worries. If there is anything that any word that we can help with, let me know.
Yeah, no, I'm just
you are saying also. It's funny you mentioned that because I was having a discussion with Hajer earlier about this. Like and yes, about how sometimes we are harsh on ourselves and we think we are not good enough. And we were thinking about from where this comes and why we have such a thing. And also it was like a debate we are having also among friends. So I think also the point of colonization might play a role in this.
Well, it plays a lot, actually. I don't know if you see the book of Frantz Fanon, Noir Masque Blanc, talks about Black people, but actually talks a lot to us too. Talks actually to everyone who had lived the colonization. You can totally see yourself whenever you reading it. The more you read it, the more you're like, oh my God, that's so much me. And that's and it reminds me even, you know what? It reminds me actually when I was children. And that was when I was child, and we were like only two Moroccans and Arabic people in all the school, elementary school. And whenever one was like getting aggressed by the other one was like being with the other Italians. You see what I mean? And it's about the colonization. I think it's about that. Like, like whenever you see somebody getting, you're gonna be like with the one who can win.
Yeah. It's a luggage, definitely. Yeah. It's a luggage, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Al-Mahdi. Kia, what is your intake on this question? Or your perspective, how you think about it?
I think history is important. So we have to know the history, what happened, what is going to happen, because, you know, like history repeats itself, as I said, like the first time as a tragedy and the second time as a comedy, but it maybe I'm like for more like pragmatic ways, you know, like, because you can always sit and learn about the history, what happened, and talk theory like for hours or years, you know. But for me, like more pragmatic ways to just know your, like, educate yourself, you know, like to know your rights and how to fight with the colonization, because it doesn't stop. It's never going to stop. It's a game of power, and it will continue until like end of the world, I think. Just to think of new ways or like the working ways how to fight with that, you know, like how you can fight that, or educate more people about, like tell more people about it, like how this is working, how this is functioning, and yeah, maybe then you can do something about it, you know, because we're only talking about it or doing research or, you know, like going back to the history, nothing going to change. So yeah, you have to you know, fight the system. And if all the doors are, sometimes like all the doors are closed and the system is so strong, like the colonization is so stronger than you, but then you have to just jump from the window, you know, like when the doors are closed, you just find another way, and it's like a never-ending fight, I think.
Yeah, it's a process, you know, to still grasp what colonization did before talking about post-colonization. Sometimes are we really sure we talk about post-colonization? We are still in colonization sometimes. So yeah, totally. My next question is for you, Al-Mahdi, and it will, in your work, you also your personal story, so how your father crossed the Mediterranean. So you are, this is a theme I know that it is like close to your heart, and we know that there is still, unfortunately, there is still no safe passage for the majority of Africans to Europe, but on the other way around, there is a safe passage for Europeans to the whole world. So how does this imbalance make you feel? Do you have this disillusion with Europe? Even though I know that you spend most of life there, but still I know that you have been covering the stories of the migrants and who took to the Mediterranean, and you have this personal story. How does this make you feel, this kind of imbalance, you know?
I would say that the first word would be unfair. It's like the first word it got in my head. But then I don't know. As just Kia said, I know that at the same time it's about power. So whenever you let people be how do you say? Whenever you don't let anyone, you let, it's like marketing in a way, like creating luxury in a way, like you get an idea, you create an idea in the head of people that it's probably better here, then you don't let them get inside. So for sure it must be better here. And at the same time, then you let everyone go wherever they want from your country. They would never be anyway, they would never be immigrant, they would be expatriate. And even when they go to other countries, they don't even need to learn the languages of the other countries. Anyway, it's such a not interesting culture, let's say. So that's it's about I think it creates even more power on people, like psychological you grab people and don't let them you don't let them any other way to project. Like they project on for sure they're gonna be projecting on Europe as the best they can. It must be better than their countries. It's like I filmed one of my cousin like few years ago. Him and other friends of him and another cousin, and he was telling me, like, he didn't stop telling me, here over there you have that and that and that, and here welu. Over there you have that and that, and here welu. And welu came back again.
Welu means
welu,
nothing.
sorry, nothing.
Nada.
Just because, like, finally it becomes so this welu became so strong. But then, yeah, voila, he doesn't stop saying that here there's that and that. He knows Europe before coming to Europe in a way. But then he told me just one thing. So he was like telling me, I would love just to go there, just to see, just to be sure about my bullshit or not. That's the thing, in a way. Like, am I just projecting, or like, is it really like that? Are you like, and at the same time, yeah, it's, I don't know, it's very, I think it's a very strong image, like just the fact that Europeans can go wherever they want, and then I don't know, it's like going to Hermes. You have to wait, even if there's no one inside, you have to wait. Just wait if you want the Holy Grail. Yeah, it's a power issue, I think. It's a real, it's just to keep bringing down the Africa and make everyone project on Europe.
Yeah, it's definitely also related to power dynamics. Imagine now we will project one of your projects, Fontaine de Jouvence, and afterwards I will give you the floor to talk about it, and please feel free to talk about it in whatever language you feel most at ease in it, because I know that this is one of your projects that you like the most. So yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, can you explain to us what's the meaning or the symbolism between this Fontaine de Jouvence for us who have no clue?
Yeah, sure. Well, I like the fact that the Fontaine de Jouvence it's like it's also called the fountain of new life, and it's a closed circuit with between this clay fountain that it dates from who's from the 19th century, and so it's with the it's from the it has the name of how do you call it, like the emblem of Paris, who says fluctuat nec mergitur, who means it's comment tu dirais, il est battu par les flots mais ne sombre pas, who means like the ship it's like it gets waves but it does
not sink. It doesn't sink despite the waves.
Yeah, and then inside and the other fountain is like completely Orientalist thing that I bought in a flea market here in France, and inside this fountain there's perfume, and it's a perfume that it's called Rêve d'Or, who means golden dream. And this golden dream, it's sold just here in Tati. Tati is like this mythological supermarket, gigantic supermarket that people since always, they go there before going back to their country, and they buy a lot of stuff to bring to the country. And then they bring this perfume. It's sold like €6-7 per bottle. And this perfume smells very strong, and it's very emblematic of the people who comes back from France to Morocco. And this perfume, you have to know that there's like 7 families in perfumery, and this perfume, it's like it's from the Oriental family. So in a way, it's like how the dream, the golden dream, finally, it's a circuit. We had during the 19th century all this movement of Oriental that we all know, and then it became this. Today we have this Occidentalism who does exist, and actually that's the thing. Like everything who comes from France, it's better. It's like when we buy coffee and bring it to Morocco or to Tunisia or whatever, and they like or for example peanuts. People buy peanuts and brings them to our countries sometimes. Like back in 90s and 2000, I actually been in the car with my parents with some coffee or whatever stuff that actually are from our countries more than here. Like they grow more in southern countries. So it's this piece. It's actually about the projection that we can have on Orient and Occident. And actually, as you can see, it's on this blue and yellow velvet with the light just back to it. Who's supposed to represent a sunset on Mediterranean Sea, because as you know, Nasreen, the exil, the word exil is ghorba, and ghorba comes from ghorb, who's the sunset. So it has to be an exil to the Occident. So it's just how maybe it's all about romance in a way. Like it's just somebody who's like trying to live till the horizon, and
end of the horizon.
To the horizon. Yes.
Thank you very much, Nadia. Actually, Rêve d'Or is also, I remember it, so it's not only
more perfume. Okay.
I think it's something that also, I remembered my grandmother used to have it. You know, she had some I think in France, but she would always have this perfume. So it's a smell that now I can remember. it's strong, and
it's strong.
And also there was like, I remember I wrote this sentence in your portfolio when you said the migrant is like Papa Noel or Santa Claus. He or she needs always to bring presents so that they keep believing in him back home. And It's true.
It's true. Huh?
Yeah, it's
At
very
the same time, it's sadly true in a way.
Sorry?
I said it's sadly true. I just trying to romanticize actually on all these things, and trying to like ironically conscious about all that. But actually, there's a melancholy on all that. There's a sadness actually, because you, in a way, I don't know, but the immigrant, his situation depends so much on other people. It doesn't really depend on him in a way. Like for so many, even whenever you making it right, it's about the others. And whenever it's not going well, then you have to make it to fake it like if it was. And then I don't know, I can see many people like here, like so many people. Just 2 or 3 days ago, again, I was just talking with a random guy, and he was telling me, hey, it's been like 5 months now that I'm here. Should I come back? And at the same time, such a crazy thing. How would you come back? Like, how will they believe in you again as a human? Or like whatever. I don't know if you
mean come back to his home country.
Yeah, come back to his country. Yeah, he's Algerian, and I don't know, I have people like that all the time, like telling me, hey, should I come back? Why do you ask me? But I see what you mean at the same time. So I was just telling that to come back again to this projection, and how people need at least to see, sometimes just to see, just to discover, to know what's going on here, because actually it's very hard to know. And then they project again, as I told you, the rêve d'or, so this light that you can see just in floating in the water, and just over there, like just turning again and again and again, and it just doesn't stop. Whenever you have this idea of Europe, I think it's just there from all the people I meet, and it always comes back to that. Whenever they have the idea, it doesn't go back, so they come here, and they most of the time disappointed.
Yeah, there is this disillusion, but at the same time, you know, they are aware that they have this right of mobility, and sometimes they just need to do the journey themselves and to learn.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Thank you very much. So we are reaching the end of our webinar before moving to the Q&A session. So my last question will be for both of them. It's very simple, non-simple question, depends. But it's short. So for both of you, what is your utopia? If I ask you, Kia, what is your utopia?
Yeah, I think a world without borders, without labels and prejudice, you know, like, so yeah, so you can just move anywhere that you want, nobody asks you a question. And also yeah, you know, like the acceptance, you know, like, because hate is coming from always like hate, any form of hate, like racism or anything, like it comes always from the ignorance. And the utopia for me would be like the place that people understand each other, understand their differences, like the differences between each other, and accept that and respect that. And yeah, that would be my utopia, I think.
It's mine too. What about you, Mehdi? Utopia.
The utopia would be the end, I think. Simple thing. The end.
The end of everything?
Yeah, there's like there's this I don't know, once I heard like this on this documentary on study of Torah, and there were this rabbin saying that like after so many studies of Torah, they said that finally maybe just humanity didn't really need it to exist. So I'm just like, yeah, we're existing, and then if it does not, probably okay too. Whenever you close your eyes, you just don't exist anymore. So non-existence, that would be probably the best utopia. It's utopia, doesn't exist. So okay, I'm okay with that.
It's a point of view. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Can I add something?
Yes, of
I have
course.
this harsh theory for myself. Like I don't want to extend it to anybody else, but I think that when we talk, like we have to have more, or I have to have more a cosmic point of view. You know, like not thinking or like or regionally, or like maybe talking about borders that exercise, and you know, like we just bold, like even bold it more than before. So you know, you have always this this urge when you meet someone with accent, with any kind of accent, or when somebody is not talking the same language as you always, the first question comes like, where are you coming from? And I just, you know, like try a lot, you know, like I'm just putting a lot of energy on that, to not ask that question, you know, because it doesn't matter that much. Like maybe yeah, you can just talk about ideas, you know, like, okay, so you're from somewhere else, I'm from somewhere else, what do you have in mind, what I have in mind, and not ask that question, and not you know, like yeah, put so much express on that thing, you know, like this thing that the borders or the regional thinking is, I think, causing a lot of problems, you know, also like hate and many things. So maybe the best would be for me, like, not to even talk about it or like think about it, just to, yeah, let people be, you know.
Ignore it completely, does not exist.
Yeah, I mean, like,
it's utopia also, but
whenever you can, you know, like sometimes you have to fight for it, but whenever you can, or you have the opportunity, you can just ignore it, and, you know, like,
I understand that. Yeah.
And then for now, no, just I was just saying that for now it has to be a fight. Then so a day we don't need to talk about it anymore. But for now, like, yeah, it's a fight. It has to exist for now, I think.
We'll see. It's a process. It takes time.
Oh yeah, it takes a long time.
Okay, thank you very much. I really enjoyed having this debate and questions and answers from you. And as much I enjoyed it, also our audience did, and they have some questions for you. So let's see here on the Zoom chat. What are the questions? So we have this question. How do you perceive the portrayal of migration in politics, where it is split between qualified migrants, for example, doctors, engineers, etc., like those ones qualified, that they are desired, we like to have them, and troublesome migrants, the undesired ones, between brackets? Why do you think artists are missing from the picture? So if I got it right, I think the question is, we have the split between the wanted migrants and the unwanted ones, and in the middle, the artists are missing from this picture. Yeah, and Al-Mahdi.
Go Kia if you want, and then
yeah, I'm thinking about it. You know.
But understood the question is like, if artists are necessary. Is it about that? Because I know that is not, we're not really, but like in a pragmatical way, we're not. But then I didn't really understood the question so well. I'm sorry. But
that's all right. Maybe we will try. I still cannot see who asked this question, but Ais did. So if Ais, you asked this question, could you clarify it more to our guests? Meanwhile, I will try. Or if you already got some ideas, Kia, please go ahead.
Not really.
Okay.
The artist. I just mean that
okay.
we never really mention artists when we talk about migration. So that's only about doctors, engineers, or the ones that are not integrated and that cause trouble, whatever, terrorist acts and so on. So there isn't really a place for artists, migrants in the media and in politics. And I'm wondering why.
I think we can go back to the colonialization and the fact that, you know, like you always, I mean, not you, but they always want to get people who make more money, you know, like I think you wouldn't have any problem if you're a really like well-known artist and they would just accept you anywhere. But artists, they don't make as much money, or you know, like something like sensible, like as engineers or doctors or anything else. So that's in their mind. So I think maybe that's the reason. So
yeah, in a pragmatic way, it's just useless. Art is useless in a pragmatic way. Like as a political and economical way, at least, well, economical, yes, you can like not pay taxes because you're paying art. But then in another way, like it's just useless. So of course it's not so interesting. As you said, Kia, it's just...
And are you comfortable with that portrayal?
Oh yeah, sure. I am. I am. I just... Actually, it gives you even more. I think it's a way to just even give you more
freedom,
energy, or freedom, like just to be, you know, you feel a part, and then you just get more creative. Actually, it's just, I don't know.
Okay,
for me,
thank
like,
you.
The art for me maybe is the only thing that doesn't have a purpose, you know. Because you know, you don't have a purpose. You don't have to do this way or that way, or you just have to be political or not political, or you know, anything. It doesn't have any purpose, so it comes from the heart. You whatever you want to do, you just do it, and so yeah. So you're useless in the end, I think. But yeah, but people need it also
for the spirit.
This is interesting, Kia. So just like a follow-up, because also we tend to think that there is this engaged art with a purpose, with a mission to educate, to advocate, to shed light. So don't you think that this is also a purpose that art can serve on certain stories, issues, injustice?
Yeah, I'm not against it, you know, like I'm not against it, but I'm just saying that it's not the only, the sole purpose of art is not that, you know, like to enlighten people. Sometimes it's just the pure beauty of it, you know, like it's pure beauty, it doesn't have any meaning. Sometimes that's it. But sometimes if the artist wants to give you some meaning or something to enlighten you, then it's on them, you know, like they can just do it. But there's not something that you can you say that's the sole purpose of art. So it's not, I think, like it can go in many, one of the ways I think that you mentioned.
Yeah,
actually.
Thank you. So there is another question. You mentioned the point about parents' acceptance. It is usually the case that parents who are from migrant background have high ambitions for their kids and want them to become. Hajar, could you rescue me? Because I cannot scroll down. To become.
To become doctors and lawyers. So what kind of work needs to be done in the migrant communities to change the perception about art? A question from Hajar.
Okay, so it means like the parents from migrant backgrounds have like high expectations and ambitions from their kids. Like they want them mostly to become engineers or doctors rather than artists. If I got it. So what do you think about this? Al-Mahdi, did you feel such pressure from your family while growing up?
Oh, yeah, sure, of course. For me, it was just, I wanted to be a lawyer when I was a child. But today I consider that artist, it's like a lawyer in a way, like just using, yeah, sometimes you're gonna be just using laws that are not read that hasn't been written, and just use them as you want. So you can say you can say something that you think or feel. Yeah, no, for sure. For myself, when I first arrived in France, I was just looking for a job. My project was to open a pizzeria. And but for real, like I was wondering about like work at the factory with my father, have some money, and just open this pizzeria. And then a day I just went through this atelier, and I asked for a stage, and they said, oh, you know what, you can get to fine art school. And then I got in the fine art school. But just like that, just don't even, so, and it's because of that that I'm artist. Just so my parents were like, okay, well, we don't have any choice. But actually, it's very strong. It's very hard for somebody who like crossed water, did so many stuff. He risked his life and whatever. So to make you have the idea that he has of a good life, and with the, by being, I don't know, doctor or whatever, like having in a pragmatic way a real job, and then you tell him, oh, I would like to draw and make sculptures, and he would be, and especially if he didn't had this culture, he would be like, no, it's hard for, yeah, I think it's hard for parents to accept that. But then I don't know, today whenever I have the occasion, maybe even to show to for example children's or whatever, when they sometimes I make an exhibition and I have some children coming to exhibition or whatever, I'm very happy whenever they like yeah, they issue from immigration or whatever. I'm very happy, like, just to show them, hey, look, there's a Moroccan artist or immigrant artist who does exist, because I never saw them before. So I never, when I was children, I didn't even know that it was possible for an immigrant person. So yeah, well, today I think we're coming, we're starting to exist. So maybe in a few years would be okay.
I think you answered partially the next part of the question, or the other part, because it was like, what kind of work needs to be done within the migrant communities to change the perception about art? You said that while growing up, you really could not identify to an artistic scene or arts from your origins or other migrant origins. So what do you think, like, what kind of work do you think you would like to do or think should be there to help change this perception?
I'll try to be more inclusive. Like for me as an artist, my job today is like show my job in my work wherever I can, show it to other immigrants, or like just make other people be part of it, so I can find maybe a way to democratize that. I think that's plus, like, art gives you a voice. Art gives you the possibility to talk to anyone and to be part of everything. So I don't know, like, yeah, that's something that is very important for me, just to be to show the example in a way, not without like being in this idea of like, oh yeah, look at me or whatever. I don't know if you see what I mean. Sorry for the expression, but just when I say example, just in a humble way, like just it does exist. So if you want today, even if it's maybe doesn't look so sexy, whatever, but just go for it if it's what you need, what you feel to do.
Yeah, you show that it's possible. It's very important, and the fact that you said that children come to the exhibitions and they, I think that this is already a very good step towards achieving such goal. Okay, so that we have this question also, I think it's for both of you. So do you think that being a migrant allows you to tackle topics that would be deemed or considered like taboo or politically incorrect for non-migrants? Also, inversely, are there any topics that you would not tackle because you are a migrant? Is it, and I think it's clear, the question, but I can also repeat it if it's not very clear.
Yeah, yes, it is. Kia, do you wanna talk? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, I think for me, it's not about the allowance, like if somebody allows you to do it, but the thing is, like, when you're coming from, like for me, like migration, like at least in my case, like I came from a more suppressed community, like that your thoughts are being suppressed because of certain, like way of thinking. But and in that case, like most people in that kind of community that is suppressed, they are more active, like if like what I mean, like in all the countries, for example, in Middle Eastern countries or like African countries, or like there, I think you have more active people, like politically active people, than in Europe. And you can just talk, like you just sit in a taxi, and the taxi driver just talks politics. Like everybody, like when you're standing in a line, everybody's talking politics, and that makes you a rebel. Like when you in getting out of the country, you go somewhere with certain like certain level of freedom, then you have this rebel inside you that wants to talk, and talks about everything, that think about it that much, or maybe think you don't have to talk about it, but the rebel inside you says, okay, I just want to talk about it, and to tackle that subject, let's say, and you do it. Like it's not about allowing you or not. It's about just the kind of person that has been formed in the other suppressed country. And the other part of the question, I think, maybe, are there any topics that you would not tackle because you're migrant? Not that I know, not that I know, but I don't know, like it's not, maybe it's like more general, like it's not like about migration or having the migrant background. I think there are some issues in Europe, for example, with this certain level of freedom that you still cannot freely talk about. With one of them is, for example, like Jewish people, like you cannot talk about like Israel or Jew or these, like the conflict, and you will be, like labeled as anti-Semitism or Semitist, or, like it's hard to do that, but still you can do it, but it's not as easy, like as you think that should be actually in a free community. It is not. And I think it's for everybody. And with the people who have the background, for example, from an Arabic country or Iranian country, or like that would be even harder, because then you have something against us if you're talking about this. It's not about the facts that you're talking about, it's about like having, like generally having this idea in your mind. Why do you even have this in your mind? So that's my point of view, I think. If you want to add something else, maybe.
Just a follow-up question to Yukia. It was like the relation, what is the relation between art? This question was to you directly, like what is the relation between art and religion in Iran?
Because like in Iran, like the government is based on religion. The rules are based on religion. So everything is actually like not only art, but like general, like living is having like a really strong connection with religion. And and art is also one part of it. So it's for example, I don't know, like on national TV still you can, they don't show the instruments. Like you can hear music, but they don't show the real instrument, like that's stupid, but that's part of it, like like I don't know, like concerts are hard. And for me, like what I don't really understand is that traditional music, or like I don't know, I don't want to put label on music, but like good music with good production has less value than the new pop music that are being produced. And that those are, for example, okay, because I don't know, they seem to be harmless, probably, I don't know. But if you if you just go, like if you go across the line, then that would be difficult. But that's for not only for art or music, that's for generally for everything. So it's really intertwined, like religion is everywhere, and politics is everywhere. So they're connected in your everyday life. So
yeah. So I think this is one of the last questions, if I'm not mistaken. So have you experienced discrimination as immigrant artists? For example, not being booked in shows, concerts, exhibitions. My impression is that the art scene is rather open, or left-leaning. So I would be curious to know your perspectives. Mahdi?
I would say that today on est à la mode. How can I say that? But yeah, there's like a fashion wind coming for immigrant artists. You know, everyone is like buying himself a good how do you say that? Une bonne conscience.
Yeah, like it fits everyone's conscience to say that we are supporting diversity and migrants, if I understood that.
Yeah, thank you for explaining, for giving me the words. But yeah, this, so voilà, it's for now, yeah, maybe it's a good, let's say, good discrimination. I talked about that with other artists who actually are from immigrant, and we were saying the same. Like it's there's this yeah, a good entre guillemets good discrimination in terms of exhibitions. There's a lot of possibilities today for immigrant artists.
Yeah, so it's like positive discrimination because diversity is very trendy and we need to check the box of diversity and say that we are diverse, we have artists from African origins as well. But this is also a bit problematic per se, so don't you think so?
Oh yeah, for sure it's problematic, but at the same time I think it's about I think it's about being conscious of it and playing with it, and sometimes even putting some messages in your work when how do you say that, like yeah, trying to be part of the thing, and at the same time without being the thing. If I like trying to use it for yourself as you can, and at the same time just not let yourself be used in a way. So that requires a lot of
yeah, so I think this joins this question that sometimes art coming from people from migrant background is fetishized, for example, valued just because it is exotic. I don't like this word at all. We hear a lot of it. Or different, not because of its intrinsic value. What do you think about this? I think this joins it's like a follow-up question for what we have been talking about.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's true, but at the same time I think that this times like for like I've seen it in some yeah, well, yeah, sometimes I felt it in some art fairs where there were like this, yeah, there's like this fetishism around like African art, or like Oriental art, with some galleries were run by just Occidental persons and just getting any African artist they can, or every Oriental artist they can. Oriental again as the term, not as the idea of Orient. So yeah, I think there's a real fetishism around artists. Then I don't know what is how to protect ourselves from that. But then at the same time, I want to say, if people can play with that and try to get to finally use the person who wants to use them, it's better. I think it's better like that. I don't know. I'm more for being conscious of the things and try to get to be an immigrant. Actually, it's like try to be conscious about what's going on all around you and get what you can, whatever you can, and at the same time without letting anyone just use. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you need to be like,
I think this is the immigrant, for me, this is the immigrant, the identity of the immigrants. It's like just being conscious of everything all around you, because actually you have already your consciousness from all your other cultures, and then you just don't get fooled actually, and do your best with what people think that you are. Okay, I'm gonna give you what you want, and at the same time I'm gonna get all I can and all I want, and it's a game actually. It's kind of sad, but it's for now it's like, I think it does exist. It's like that. You have to deal with this. I don't know. Yeah. I think.
Thank you very much. I think we are done with the questions. So Qais wanted to say that he likes the use of the EU colors for the Fontaine de Jouvence. And I think there was a question about the book of Hans Fanon, the title of it, but I think...
Peau noire, masque blanc.
Voilà,
oh,
yes,
sorry.
black, white masks, yeah. So yes, thank you.
I would recommend also a book that I just wrote these days. It's from Amin Malouf.
Yeah.
It's Murder Identities. It's just very, very incredible, very enlightening book, and it's. I don't know if you know this book, Nisreen. It's if you know.
Yeah, you can write it also on the chat.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna read it. Just if you interested by François on this one, you would probably like it, and at the same time, like if you're especially with all the conversation we just had, I think this can be very interesting. This book is very, very interesting.
I know that we have Amin Malouf here, fans here, so yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. I am fan too. I read everything he wrote, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we are reaching the end of this webinar. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this webinar edition.
Thank you too.
It was very insightful, and I hope you did as much as we did here live and also in the chat. Thank you for your availability and for your work. I wish you best of luck for your upcoming future. And for our audience, please tune in for our next webinars and web documentaries. You find all details on our social media networks, Borderless Facebook page, Diaspora in Action, Tunisia Tomorrow, and Aliens, the partners of Borderless project. Thank you again, and I hope to see you soon for our next webinar.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.